Hi, welcome back to Future Fast. And once again, we have Dr. Vivek Mansingh with us. And for those of you who have missed the first part of our conversation, I'll have a quick introduction that Dr. Vivek is the general partner, YourNest VC Fund. He's been chairman and board member of multiple corporations, Indian and multinational. And he's been a global leader, worked across multiple countries and continents, and entrepreneur and innovator. He's been a TED speaker as well. And one of the main things, pertaining to today's conversation is that we are going to discuss more of his role as a best-selling author of the book. And I sincerely urge those of you who have missed the first part of the conversation where he shares in detail about his journey, please look up to the first part of the conversation. And the link is also right below this podcast. And please feel free to share it with all those who you think appreciate it, and particularly those who are entrepreneurs and those who want to be entrepreneurs. This is going to be very, very useful. And with that, we'll jump straight into the conversation with Dr. Vivek Mansingh.
Dr. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Future Fast.
Happy to be here.
Done. Wonderful, sir. So, do you want to have a quick word from a point where we had left off last time before I start asking you about this book?
The book. Okay. So I think my journey in very, very short, I come from a small city called Fatehpur. I did my high school there, then my engineering from NIT Allahabad. And after that, I did my PhD in Canada and worked in Silicon Valley with the stalwarts like David Packard, Bill Hewlett, and did my own startup also in Silicon Valley, did my EMBA from Stanford. And then in 2000, came back to India and to take care of my parents. My mother was ailing with some kidney issues. And in India, I did a couple of startups, US-India startups, which were exited. Ishoni Networks was bought by Philips. Portal Software was bought by Oracle. And then I headed Dell and Cisco. And after that, I am now general partner at venture capital fund called YourNest VC Fund. And in addition to venture capital, I strongly believe in giving back. So on my social impact side, I have a hospital in Fatehpur. I have an eye hospital at Fatehpur. Have a handicapped children school at Fatehpur. So lots of activity in social sector. And I'm on the board of both for-profit and non-profit sectors in multiple companies, both Indian and international. So that's a brief background about my, experiences.
Well, thank you so much. And in fact, the journey through that background that he shared is very, very interesting. And that's why you will not, or rather, you will find it very exciting to listen to it from his own words in the first part. So please do go and get into it. So with Dr. Vivek, getting to the book, first of all, congratulations. This has been a very well-received book across many circles, among senior professionals, business leaders, to entrepreneurs, to even among student community. So congratulations. It's
thank you.
And also, typically this is referred to when people write fiction, but rarely a non-fiction gets this kind of a reception that you're getting, and rightly so. So in that context, my first question is, what is the motivation for writing this book?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. It was not clearly visible, so I'm going to show this as well for people to know what we are talking about. And he has it as well. So now, what was the motivation? After I retired from Cisco, I'm a very goal-driven person. Any reader would find that out. I look back at my almost 35, 40 years of career, and I questioned myself and said, what legacy do I want to leave? What gift can I give to the world as my innings comes to a close? And so I look back my career and I found that I have mentored people across the world, in US, in Singapore, in Taiwan, in India, and were able to make a significant difference to them. So then I said, okay, why not I mentor 1 million people now? Now, nobody has done that before. Nobody knows how to do that. So I gave myself a goal. I called it Mentor 1 Million as my initiative. Now, how do I do that? And then the solution came as, if I write a book, I can actually reach out to 1 million people. So that is the genesis of the book. Book itself acts as a mentor. And after people have read the book and they have any question, they can go to my website and ask these questions. The website is free to use, and all the profits of the book are going to an eye hospital for the poor called Cisco Eye Hospital, which does almost 1,000 eye surgeries a day, 85% of them free for the less privileged people. So the book motivation, number one, mentor 1 million people. Number two, benefit the eye hospital with the profits that the book will make. And these were the two guides for me. And I'm so happy that the book has been received well. I'll add one more point here, that the book has been written for people from high school, literally 9th or 10th grade onwards, for all the way up to CEO level people. And the book has been extremely well received by both the segments. I'll give you one instance. I gave a talk to 50 CEOs in Singapore, and all of them appreciated the book and lots of conversation. Many of them wanted me to be their mentor, which I declined because I don't have time. But I said, read the book, book will mentor you. And if you have any questions, you can come to my website and your questions will be answered. So longer answer, but that was the motivation, and I'm continuing on that journey. I'm happy to tell you that almost 500,000 people have already been impacted, but other half is still work in progress.
Well, I want to touch upon the title. Well, how do you define each of this? Because first of all, how did you arrive at? Because achieving itself is what exactly would it entail to achieve something, and then what is meaningful, and lastly, of course, how to define a success from a more generic way. So,
excellent question. So let me give you first of all a little bit of context on success, and then I'll come to meaningful success. Success. See, a lot of people are seemingly very successful, but they may not be successful in their own definition. So there are a couple of studies that I have quoted in the book, which were done in US. In one, they asked S&P 500 CEOs. These are the largest 500 corporations of USA. And CEOs of those companies, once they retired, and asked them if they consider themselves successful. And a lot of them said no, they have failed, right? So these people are our role models. I mean, we want to see and become CEOs of our companies, and these are the largest in the world. The second data point I'll give you is Professor Clayton from Harvard University. He was a professor and taught MBA class. So he followed one MBA class after graduation for several years. So after graduation, on the 5th alumni meet, almost all the people were there. Very happy, great jobs, lots of money, good cars, good spouses, everything was great. And then after 10 years, in the 10-year alumni meet, 30% people did not show up. And when he dug deeper, he found that a lot of these people were having one or the other problem, health problem, relationship problem, or some other problems. At the 25th year of alumni meet, you will be surprised to know only 30% people showed up. 70% of the people were having serious issues with their health, with their relationships, or other problems. And actually, few of them had ended up in jail. Right? This is the Harvard class of MBA. So what was the nutshell in both of these studies is that success, a single dimensional success, is not that important. It doesn't give you satisfaction, happiness. But if you lead a multidimensional life where you actually pay attention to multi-dimensions of your life, that can make you happy and you can feel very fulfilled. That is where the word meaningful comes from. So success alone, which seemingly is only related to money and power in the eyes of others, should not be your only dimension on which you focus in life. So in my book, I have called it a wheel of goals, which means you have goals in multiple dimensions. And these are, of course, profession, money, education, but there are also other goals like relationship, health, spirituality, giving back. All of these are very important. And we all need to find time for all of these throughout our life to achieve meaningful success. So meaningful success leads to happiness, fulfillment, and a balanced success in your life. That is why I call it meaningful success. Success alone is not important. So that is the focus in the book. Now, if I have to say the book in one sentence, it is define who you aspire to be and then become that person. 90 or 99% people never define what success means to them. So they are living one day at a time, pretty much going wherever the opportunity is. That is not how very, very successful people have led their life. Right? So defining is very important. What does that mean? Aspire big and capture your goals in multidimensional way for your life. And then the second half of sentence is become that person. So then work hard and become the best version of yourself to become worthy of your aspirations. So that is in one line, the whole book is about that. And it helps you or guides you like a mentor on how to do this, how to achieve this kind of meaningful success.
One more extended question. Isn't this work in progress? Because it's never a goal by itself, right? It's always a journey.
Yeah, so journey is as important as goals, or maybe even more important as goals. But your goals don't remain fixed. After you have achieved goals, 5-year goals, 10 years goals, you go and make another 5 or 10-year goals. So journey is never over. And that is why in chapter 1, I have described my own journey, right? So my goals of doing a PhD or then becoming #1 in the world in my field, or many other goals that I had given myself to. Once they are achieved, you go and make new goals and have even bigger aspirations. So as I said, after I retired from Cisco, my goals are the following. At the age of 60, #1, help create 3 to 5 unicorns from India in deep technology and product space, because India is not known for product and technology in terms of deep technology. So first goal is that to create 3 to 5 unicorns. Goal #2 is to create 50,000 jobs through goal #1. Goal 3 is to mentor 1 million people. Goal 4 is to impact 1 lakh people, 100,000 people through direct intervention, either on medical or eye or some other help that they need. And 5th are on relationship, and 6th is traveling, and so on. There are a lot of other goals. So once you achieve your goals, you go and create new goals.
How do you prioritize
working on each of those goals? Because some of them will be connected, but some of them are not really connected.
Yeah.
So how do you go about it?
Yeah, excellent thought. And that is what is described in the book. So if you have a goal, you have to work on it. It doesn't. So let's say professional goals for us are all very important. Professional goals, materialistic goals, of course, they are very important, and they take most of our time. Let's put it that way. Right. So those are important, but there are other things important as well. If you have a baby, that baby needs time now, not 10 years from now when you become successful professionally, right? Health. Now I see 35, 40-year-olds getting heart attacks, badly in sort of poor shape, let's put it that way, right? So health is important. It cannot wait. Relationships are important. Your parents will pass on at some point. You cannot become very successful and then go back and compensate the time you have not spent with them. Similarly, spirituality. Giving back is another one that people miss. People think when I become successful, when all my needs are met, I will go and give some money or some time to less fortunate people. That is not how very, very successful people have led their life. And I strongly believe giving back has to be throughout your life. Share whatever you can with the less fortunate people. I'll give you an example. When I gave when my kids were small in school, I gave them pocket money. Let's say I gave them 100 rupees. They had to take 10 rupee out of that and give it to somebody who is less fortunate. And they could use 90 for themselves, right? So it has to be all the way, not just when you become very famous and so on. So I think all of these goals, once you define these goals, you can pick with 5, you can start with 7, whatever makes you happy, but allocate time for them. Now the time doesn't have to be equal. For example, health goal is maybe that I'll spend 45 minutes in gym. That's all, right? But it is a goal and you have to pursue that, right? Similarly, giving back, what will you do this year or in the next 3 months? You will go to an orphanage and do something. You can educate or teach your driver's daughter. No money involved. You can mentor somebody after reading the book on how to mentor. These are phenomenal gifts that you can give. So the point is all goals are important. You need to allocate reasonable time for all of the goals, not just focus on profession and money.
Well, of course, a lot of these things you've been talking about are already mentioned in the book. But if you have to say these are the key messages coming out of this book.
Yeah, so the key messages are aspire big, right? Most of people come from constrained background, middle class background. They have hard time aspiring big, right? So I give examples, especially for your audience in India. They know Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the cricket captain in India. What was he before he became Dhoni? We know he was a ticket collector in railways. He didn't aspire to become a station master. He didn't aspire to become a senior ticket collector. He aspired to play cricket for India, and he did, right? So I can give you more examples of the people you don't know, but they are important. When I joined Dell, one of the persons who reported to me, his name was Muni. In my first or second meeting, I asked Muni, what do you want to be 5 years from now? And he said, I want your job in 5 years from now. And I said, are you serious and you are willing to work with me on this? And he said, absolutely, yes. I mentored him for 5 years. And then when I left Dell after 5 years, he took my role, right? So mentoring is important. Having aspiration. If he didn't have aspiration to become the head of Dell in India, there is no way he can achieve it. He could have said, I want to be a director at Dell and so on. He said, I want your job, right? So having aspiration is very important. And the book guides you on how to aspire. Then you have to capture these aspirations as your goals. And again, as we discussed, multi-dimensional goals. And then the second part of the book says how to become the best version of yourself. Right? We all have a lot more potential than we think we have. So there are 4 pillars, 4 ways to achieve and become the best version of yourself. These are passion, having a lot of passion for your goals, leadership, thinking out of the box, creativity or innovation, and excellence. These apply to any profession and a person of any age, any gender, any geography. Every one of them is a chapter in the book. How to become passionate about your goals. How does it work? Passion is a science. It is not just something as a hearsay. It is described in the chapter. So become passionate, go after excellence, leadership, and thinking out of the box. Once you do all of these, you actually will become best version of yourself. And the book chapters describe it in a very simple way. You can read 1,000 books on leadership and may still not learn how to actually practice it in your own life. But my chapter on leadership describes it in a way that you can start developing leadership skills from tomorrow, excellence skills from tomorrow. So become the best version of yourself and then achieve your aspirations. The book also talks about how to balance multi-dimensional goals, the question you just asked, why these goals are important, and how to go about in achieving them. So those are the key lessons from the book. On chapter 12 of the book, I have interviewed 11 people who have inspired me. And these are who's who in the world: Ratan Tata, Narayan Murthy, Dr. Kiran Majumdar, Dr. Devi Shetty, Rahul Dravid, Sadhguruji, Vinita Bali, Vani Kola, John Chambers. These are 11 people who have inspired me, and I have interviewed them about the content in the book, not generic interviews. And they all, if you read all of these, are fascinating interviews to read. And these interviews are on my website. So you can go and see most of these interviews. What is the bottom line message from them? It is that what Vivek is saying is correct. Focus on it and make it happen. Right? It is very, very simple key message. They all aspired big. They all became the best version of themselves by working very, very hard. They were value driven. They all gave back from their early life. Right? So these were the lessons. Then chapter 13 also has feedback from some of my mentees. And it tells you whether you are a student or you are a CEO, how mentoring can benefit you and how the techniques described in the book can benefit you. So there's hopefully every one of you will be able to relate to someone. There are students there are men, women, there are people in India, people outside India, there are mid-career professionals, there are CXOs. Anyone can relate to you, and you can see how they benefited from mentoring and how book can help them grow and become whatever they imagine to be. So these are the key findings from the book. If you go to Amazon, there are some 80 plus reviews. You can see how people have benefited from the book, and hopefully that will inspire you to get the best out of the book.
Well, just because you heard what are the messages here, don't think you got all the key messages. And it's important that you go to the book because a lot of those things are narrated in a very story way, so that it's like connecting with that becomes much easier because they are told in a very like a storytelling. And two, it's also made in a very simple way with a lot of bullet points and highlights. So it's not going to come across as very heavy for you otherwise, like a typical non-fiction. So that's why the conversation is more to get you what is there, but I think you have to experience it to get better out of it. So once again, Dr. Vivek, you did 11 distinguished people, interview with these 11 distinguished people. And you also just mentioned that their names, and you said that you have been mentored, but some of them you have worked with, and obviously others you have not worked with. So how did you pick these 11 people?
Yeah, so these 11 people are the people who have inspired me. So there is a chapter in the book called There are 4 more gods that can help you, but we don't take help from them. Most of the people don't take the help. So who are these? These are people who inspire you, people who are your role model, people who can mentor you, and books and talks and podcasts like what we are doing today. These 4 gods can help you. So the first journey begins with people who inspire you. And these 11 people, I have looked over my whole life, and I said, which top 11 people I can name who have inspired me. And these are these 11 people that I have interviewed. These are inspiration in the sense that these people inspire you, and you can at least learn one skill from them and adopt in your own life, right? Rahul Dravid, for example. You can, I'm not a cricket player, so I'm not going to learn cricket from him, but I can learn the value of integrity from him, right? Narayan Murthy, you can learn leadership from him. So similarly, everyone you can look, you can at least get some inspiration from few of these people. These are phenomenal people, and see what you can learn from 1 or 2 of them and actually adopt in your own life. So I have worked with some of them, but I have not worked with some of them. I reached out to them. I know some of them also. And some people I reached out for the first time, and I told them that this is the book I am writing. I want to impact 1 million people through the book. The book acts as a mentor, and they all like the concept very much. I also told them that the book earnings are being donated, and the follow-on mentoring, online mentoring is also free. So who is going to say no to participate in this kind of work? And all of them participated and have given invaluable advice that you can read in the chapters, the 12th chapter of the book. You can also see many interviews on my website. Tremendous learning opportunity.
Well, how long did this effort take? Because this is quite a mammoth effort in terms of even putting a whole structure to it and trying to structure your journey into your work and your vision of mentoring. And how did you make this chapter breakdown, and did you take somebody's help in trying to structure it? Because this is like a product, right? This is a product.
Yes,
So,
it is.
So how did you put together? I mean, this is your
good question. Good question. Let me answer it in multiple ways. See, I have given talks all over the world in most of the major universities in the world, Berkeley, Stanfords, and Oxfords of the world, and India, IIMs, IITs, and so many other companies, whether they are Intels of the world or many companies. I have given talk. And these talks have been on various topics. They can be on innovation, they can be on excellence, they can be on leadership, they can be on success, and so on. And one question that perplexed me all the time, people ask me if there's one book they have to read, what book that should be. And I struggled with that answer, because I could tell you which is the best leadership book is there, which is the best book on excellence, which is the best book on innovation, but I couldn't tell you one book which you could read. So that thought stayed in my mind, that I will write a book which will act as a single book that can actually help go to any height they want to. So that was an idea in my thoughts. Number 2, when COVID came, travel stopped, we were homebound, literally homebound. That is when I said, okay, let us do something useful. And that is when the book started. So within COVID time, because I was, available, so much time was available, I started the book and I finished it within that. By the time COVID finished, actually, book also finished, including all interviews. All of them happened on Zoom because nobody was meeting at that time. And so it is thanks to COVID, one positive, I guess, outcome of that. It gave me so much time to create this book. And you are absolutely right. It is my lifelong learnings. And I'll tell you another point. What I found is, if you take a leadership book or excellence book or success book, they are generally written by trainers. They haven't done innovation themselves. They haven't done leadership themselves, right? I have talked to some very, very famous people whose books you can maybe see behind. You know, people regard them tremendously, and I regard them too. But they are writing leadership books, but they haven't managed 4 people in their life, right? One very famous person, and I'm not against that, by the way. I have respect for them. But one person is a lawyer, for example, who's writing leadership books, giving leadership talks. He has never managed 5 people in his life. So the perspective I wanted to bring was perspective of having been there, done that. That look, when I'm talking about innovation, I have done 6 US patents and I have written 2 technology books. When I'm talking about excellence, I have shown how my life has benefited from excellence. When I'm talking about leadership, it talks about what I have done and what I have achieved, etc., etc. So it is actually from my life and life's learnings. These are not hypothetical situations that I'm describing to people. And that's why I think the reviews on the book are so positive, because it is all very real. It happened. So longer answer, but I think now you get the perspective of how the book came into being.
Yeah, no, I was also curious if somebody also helped you structure it, because I think that's a very complex part of it, right?
So,
In terms of
nobody helped me with the structure. I came
Oh,
up with
okay.
the structure, and the goal was very simple. How can I mentor someone using the book? So it came through me. Of course, there is a co-author. It is Rachna, who was working as an L&D person at Dell when I was at Dell. But she basically helped me with content is not hers. She helped me organize the book, and I thank her for that. And now the book is coming in Hindi also, after a lot of requests from Hindi belt that we want a book in Hindi. So it is coming up now, probably in next 2-3 months. The book will be available in Hindi. That will help the Hindi belt people as well.
Well, wonderful. And yeah, it's amazing because I have been trying to write myself, and it's so complex to structure. So that's where many times many people don't really realize how arduous
difficult
this
it is.
whole thing
Yeah.
is. So
yes, it is. And I'll tell you that I have taken lots of feedback from people who have read the English version, and I asked them if I should change something for the Hindi version. Do they have any suggestion? And 90% of the answer is don't change anything. This is the best book that I have read. This is truly a book that can mentor people from any stage to any stage. I have retired people now who actually are using the book in their retirement to actually go back and do something useful. I'm a member of Rotary Club, and I'm on the verge of starting a mentoring program at Rotary Club, where Rotary members go out and mentor 10 people every year and so on. And these are lakhs of people, hundreds of thousands of people are there who are Rotary members. If this program takes over, then imagine the impact it can be. So the book is very well done. I'm proud of that. And I think it is very important for people to take full benefit of it by going through it seriously and doing what it is asking you to do. It's like an exercise book. If you can read as much about exercise as you want, but you will have to do something in terms of exercise. Same thing here. You will have to read the book and do something to improve your life and make a bigger impact.
Well, it's perhaps a lot more easier to put the list of people who have influenced you, mentored you at various times. So from a point of interviewing them and getting their thoughts into the book. But when you pick mentees, in your journey, you've been a mentor to so many mentees across the globe, like you mentioned. So, and you pick 15. Any method to that madness, or what was the?
Yeah, very, very good question. So I get the maximum request I get online are, can I mentor them? Right? Because these are literally hundreds of thousands of people. So I tell them that, look, I cannot personally mentor you, but read the book and do what the book says. And I'm happy to answer your questions, right? So that is how I approach it now. But in the past, I did mentor literally thousands of people all over the world. Some were selected because they were related to my profession. So when I was in Dell, a lot of people I mentored in Dell. When I was at Cisco, I mentored a lot of people at Cisco and so on. So a lot of came from professional backgrounds, but a lot of them actually approached me directly or indirectly through a person. And what do I look for when I look for a good mentee, right? Number one, hungriness, how hungry they are to actually benefit from that mentoring, right? How serious they are, how sincere they are. Number two, what have they done to improve themselves in the path of becoming the best version of themselves? So have they taken one or two steps, or they are just looking for a mentor who can help them tell the obvious, right? So I love when people, I have read this book, this is person who has inspired me, this is my role model, this is what I want to do. So I want to see that they are actually doing something about it and they need guidance to improve. Number three, these people have generally big aspirations and they want to achieve something big in life. It could be for profit, it could be non-profit, and I have helped them. Chemistry match, and the trust is very important between mentor and mentee. So I make sure that the person trusts me. And let me tell you a story about trust. Did I tell that on the last podcast by any chance? I don't know. Anyway, here is a story on trust, because a mentor and mentee relationship is heavily based on trust. So here is a story which will tell you what kind of trust has to be developed. So a person was hiking on a mountain and he is going up the mountain and he's using a rope and he's going up and up and up, and it becomes dark and he slips. He comes down falling, but then he's hanging by a rope. But it is dark. He cannot see where he is and it's getting cold. And he knows that if he doesn't do anything, he will die of cold. So he prays to God that God save me. God comes and says, cut the rope. And he doesn't cut the rope. He says, what are you talking about? I'll die if I cut the rope. And so he doesn't. And God goes away. After a while, he feels cold and he knows that he will freeze. He prays again. God comes again and he says the same thing, cut the rope. And the person does not cut the rope. Next morning, he was found dead, frozen to death, 4 feet above the ground. Right? So God was able to see and guide him, but he didn't take the suggestion. So when a mentee works with a mentor, once you develop a relationship of trust, sometimes the mentor will tell you things that look unreal to you, that look difficult to you. They can even be blatant feedback on your capabilities. All of that you have to take in a stride. So trust is very important in mentor-mentee relationship. And if you have these, I think you will be able to find a mentor. And the book also tells you how to find a face-to-face mentor. If you go to a person and says, I have read the book of Dr. Mansingh. After reading the book, I have taken these 5 steps. And now I need a guidance from a person like you. I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 people will say, fine, you have shown sincerity. You have taken 5 steps already. Tell me how I can help you for the next 5 steps. So Guru arrives when the time is right and eagerness and passion is there.
Wonderful. Well, you had shared this story, but I think it's always nice just that, if somebody misses out catching up with the earlier podcast.
Right.
I just want to ask you one last question on now. You basically have been mentoring as well, like you said, right? I mean, after the book, there's the online people question. So, what are the typical questions that are coming on the web?
Yeah.
What are the next level concerns? And that is part one of the question. Part two, is it prompting you to write an extension to it, or how? I mean, I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, so it's a very good question actually, and we have answered thousands of questions both in social media, if the person is open to getting answered through social media. A lot of people write directly on my website for privacy reasons or whatever. And some of these are very, very famous people. And so probably they don't want to write on social media. But if I look at the gist of questions I have received, 95% of the answers are already in the book. So I tell them to go and read this chapter or this page or this part of the book to answer their question. So that I'm very, very proud of, because the book actually has answers for 95% of your question, whether you are an entrepreneur, you are a professional, you are a business person, you are a finance person, you are a lawyer, it just doesn't matter. Everything in the book is relevant to everyone. Number one question is, as I said earlier, can you mentor me? And I said, no, book is your mentor. Number two, I think people are struggling with their aspirations, how to aspire big. Somebody coming from very constrained background cannot just say in one step, I want to be the CEO. So it is perfectly healthy. And I have described in the book and have given example, right? Let's say you want to be an entrepreneur. Now that kind of clarity many people have, right? A college student studying and saying that I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, here is the path, right? So during your college study, make sure you participate in hackathons and other activities that help you become a better entrepreneur. You read some good books about entrepreneurship. You join societies which are encouraging entrepreneurship. In your first job that you get at Cisco's of the world, you make sure you are focusing on skill development, not so much on salary and other things. You become a director and have serious skill in the area of your choice. And then after 10 years or so, after 5 years or so, you are ready to start your company in the domain which you have developed expertise in, and then you become an entrepreneur, right? So this question comes quite a number of times, that I want to be an entrepreneur. How do I go about it? What can I do today to groom myself to becoming an entrepreneur? And it is all described similarly for profession, similarly for doctors, similarly for lawyers. So I think this is what people have to do. Like I said, 95% time, I just point them out to one example or the other in the book and say, go and do it. And then they do it. And many times they write and say, am I on the right track? Right. And 80% of the time they are, at least they have taken few steps to move in their direction. And that is very, very pleasing. And a lot of questions I have answered on social media. So people can follow me. I think people who are listening to this podcast follow me on any social media, but LinkedIn is probably my number one choice. And you will get every week I answer a question, and actually I give a book free to the best question of the week. Signed books for free for anybody who sends the question. So please feel free to ask questions. One other question, and I'm answering it in a little longer way, is what is the difference between long-term and short-term? How do I balance the short-term goals versus long-term goals? And it's actually a good question. So my recommendation in the book is first have long-term goals. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be the best heart surgeon in Bangalore. I want to be the best lawyer in this, right? These are aspirational goals. Short-term goals, which may be for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, these goals should move you in the direction of your long-term goals. They cannot go in tangent, right? So that is a question that is asked many times, and I have guided a lot of people in that respect. And again, book covers and says, how do you do 5-year goals? How do you do lifetime goals, etc.? So that is what one has to do. And those questions are well answered in the book itself.
I really admire you for taking time to respond to each of those queries, even if it may seem very repetitive because you may very similar questions and you keep pointing them to go to this section of this chapter and such. Okay, one last question again. Is there any other book that we can expect from you, and what would that be about if it is?
Yeah. So that is also good. So remember, I mentioned that there is a chapter in the book called 4 More Gods that are ready to help. And one of them is a book or a podcast or a TED Talk. And so I have described my book journey in that chapter. And so I still read at least 20, 30 books every year. And I encourage people who haven't read books to start with 1 book a month kind of goal, that I'll read 1 book. And let me guarantee that you read 50 books, you will be a different person. And who decides that you can decide that I will read 50 books in the next 3 years, 4 years, whatever, right? Which book should you read based on your short-term and long-term goals? Right? So I'm not talking about story books and all. I'm talking about books that help you move in that direction. So, for example, I ask people to select a person who inspires them. Let's say it's Mr. Murthy, Narayan Murthy. Now, you are not going to get to talk to Narayan Murthy that easily, but you can read his book. And the book talks to you like Mr. Murthy is talking, right? You can talk about Elon Musk, you can talk about John Chambers, you can talk about Rahul Dravid, you can talk about any of these people. So read the book of people who inspire you. You can also read about the books of your role model if they have the books, or the journey and becoming the best version of yourself. Leadership book you can read. You can read a book in your subject matter expertise. And you should read at least 10 books in your subject. If you are a finance person, read 10 books on finance. Today, if you are a finance person and you ask me which is the book in subject matter I should read, I will tell him, you read AI for finance, artificial intelligence for finance. This is not a rocket science, right? If you are a coder, read a book on coding from Stanford. Do a course on MIT or Stanford, which is free. It's available to you free to learn from these. So your book journey should mirror your goal journey, but read. And reading includes TED Talks and podcasts like what we are doing right now.
Well, just to so your next book is about the 4 gods?
No, it is a chapter in my current book.
Right. So
right.
I was just curious, is there a book coming? I mean, and anything else coming out of your space?
So that is also a question that has been asked many times, which is my next book. And my answer is that, look, I have not written a book for the sake of writing the book. I have written a book to impact 1 million lives at least, right? So first I need to achieve that goal. So now with Hindi edition coming and English edition going strong, hopefully in a year or 2, I will be able to achieve that goal. Then I will think about what to do next. I am very, very focused on my goals. And let me tell you, this has never been imagined or done anywhere in the world, that I'll mentor 1 million people, right? So I'm very, very focused on that. And I don't want to even think about writing the book, but it may come later. Right now, the focus is Hindi edition. And where is the time going? I think, like you rightly said, generally there are 1 or 2 interviews in a week. Lots of questions come. Many of the questions that come are answered by mentees of mine. So I'm not answering all questions, but they escalate any question where they want me to answer. So I have to answer those questions. Hindi edition, like I said, the work has started, it's coming up. Lots of talks at educational institutions, both nationally and internationally. So it is quite a bit of commitment that I don't want to think next book now.
Well, I think your response is also very much in line with what you say and what you write as well. So it's perfect. I was just curious, what are you thinking from that aspect? But anyway, I think we will get to that conversation in the future talk. Thank you so much for making time once again, and for all the audience and listeners. This is the book. Links are there right below this podcast. Go, click, get your book today itself, and you heard the man himself. Follow up once you read, after you read, come back. And so this is just the beginning. You get this book and you begin your engagement with him online with whatever the doubts. And of course, unless you get it sorted with this book itself, anything more is where he's put his time, offered his time, and also his mentees are available for you to look at it. So you look through that. There are 15 wonderful people, individually highly successful achievers who are featured here as mentees, and they are also responding to your queries on his website. So link is there right below this. So make good use of it. And please go ahead and share it. And if you have missed the first part where he shares his journey, believe me, it's wonderful because it's just not that he's sharing about his journey, but he also shares his perspective on mentoring, leadership, and entrepreneurship, incubation. There are so many other conversations packaged into one. So do go and get it. And till we meet again, enjoy the ride. Once again, Dr. Vivek Mansingh, thank you so much.
Just give me last 10 seconds.
Please,
I think
please.
I want to highlight a couple of things. Number one, guys, I am not trying to sell the book to benefit personally. All the profits are going to non-profit. So very important for you to know. Number two, I think irrespective of your age, your profession, your gender, your geography, this book will take you to the next orbit and the next orbit and the next orbit. And it has worked, whether they are managing directors or they are students, it is helping them. The last point is, after you read the book, act on what the book says. Without that, nothing will change. But please read the book first and then start acting on it. And we are here to support you through the website and the emails and so on, social media. And join me on social media. Every week, there'll be some post which will inspire you, encourage you to follow this path. And I wish you lots and lots of meaningful success. Thank you.
And those social media links are also below this podcast. So please follow them as well. All right. Thank you once again.
And thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.